Hey, welcome back. Korea's government just unveiled a major overhaul of its regulatory framework, the first of its kind in 28 years. President Lee Jae-myung chaired the inaugural meeting of the newly formed Regulatory Rationalization Committee on April 15th, calling for a shift to what he described as negative regulation for advanced industries, meaning everything is allowed unless explicitly prohibited. That's a meaningful pivot from the current model, where companies need specific approval before they can act. The centerpiece is a menu-style regulatory exemption system. The government will prepackage over 200 regulatory carve-outs, covering licensing relaxations, authority transfers, and more, and let businesses and local governments pick what they need, on demand. 4 mega special zones are being designated: robotics, renewable energy, bio, and autonomous vehicles. Each zone gets tailored permissions. For example, firefighting robots will be allowed on public roads in the robotics zone, and local governments will gain autonomous vehicle licensing authority in the autonomous driving zone. A special law to formally establish these zones is planned before year-end. On energy security, Presidential Chief of Staff Kang Hoon-sik returned from a 7-country tour and announced that Korea has locked in 273 million barrels of crude oil, more than 3 months' worth of supply, plus up to 2.1 million tons of naphtha, roughly 1 month's import volume. The supplies come from Saudi Arabia, Kazakhstan, and Oman via routes independent of the Strait of Hormuz, addressing concerns about supply disruption from the ongoing U.S. Iran conflict. Meanwhile, the Bank of Korea's incoming governor nominee, Shin Hyun-song, signaled at his parliamentary confirmation hearing that price stability will be his top policy priority. He emphasized that the foundation of stable growth is price and financial stability, a statement markets interpreted as leaning hawkish. The 10-year Korean Treasury bond yield closed at 3.655%, reversing earlier declines after his remarks. Bloomberg economics analyst Kwon Hyo-seong noted the remarks were consistent with Shin's academic track record, focusing on financial stability, and Korea's ETF market crossed the 400 trillion won threshold in total net assets for the first time, reaching 398.1 trillion won as of April 14th, with the 400 trillion mark confirmed given the Kospi's 2.07% gain that day. According to the Korea Exchange, daily average ETF trading volume this year has reached 17.4 trillion won, up more than 5-fold from 3.48 trillion won in 2024. The 400 trillion milestone was reached just 100 days after the 300 trillion mark, compared to 706 days to go from 100 to 200 trillion. Kim Jong-hyun of Shinhan Asset Management projected the market will surpass 500 trillion won by year-end. That's all for today's deep dive. We'll be back with more insights. You've been listening to the Korea Economy Brief, straight from the front page of Seoul Economic Daily. Thanks for tuning in.